There's a reason King Felipe looked unusually tense this week, and honestly, I don't think the palace expected people to notice it this quickly. Not the speech, not the ceremony, not even the headlines. It was the pause, that strange moment before he answered the question. Because when someone raised the issue of the next 24 hours inside the Spanish royal household, Felipe didn't react like a king who felt in control. He reacted like a father trying to stop something from collapsing quietly behind palace walls. And the more I looked into this story, the more I realized something weird is happening around the Spanish monarchy right now. Because this isn't just about protocol anymore. This feels personal, and if you've been following Princess Leonor's rise lately, you probably already understand why the pressure inside Zarzuela Palace has reached a completely different level in 2026. Especially now, especially after what happened behind closed doors this week. And I'll be honest, I think the palace is terrified of making the wrong move. Because one wrong decision in the next 24 hours could completely reshape how the public sees this family. And no, I don't think that's an exaggeration. In fact, I think this is the exact moment the monarchy realizes the old system no longer works. And the scary part, the public can feel it too. If you're new to Leonor's story, subscribe, I post every day. Now here's what fascinates me about this entire situation. The Spanish monarchy has always tried to project calm, controlled appearances, measured statements, perfectly timed photographs, but lately, the cracks are becoming impossible to hide. And what changed everything wasn't some massive scandal. It was timing. That's the key nobody is talking about. Because while Prince William and Kate Middleton are out in Britain doing what the royal machine has perfected for decades, controlled visibility, carefully managed charm, Spain is trying to modernize its monarchy while also surviving public exhaustion. And those are two very different battles. Leonor represents the future. Felipe represents stability. Queen Letizia represents transformation. But transformation always scares traditional institutions. Always. And I think that's where this 24-hour deadline becomes so important. Because according to palace insiders and growing media speculation, there's increasing pressure around how the royal family responds to Leonor's next major transition phase. Military image, public appearances, international positioning, future queen branding, every move now feels strategic. But here's my hot take. I actually think the palace's biggest fear isn't criticism. It's comparison. Think about it. The second Leonor started gaining global attention, people immediately began comparing her to every young royal figure in Europe. Princess Charlotte, Princess Ingrid Alexandra, even old comparisons to a young Diana started resurfacing online. And once the internet starts building narratives around someone, palaces lose control fast. That's the part old royal institutions still don't understand in 2026. The algorithm moves faster than tradition. Way faster. Honestly, if someone like Mr. Beast ran palace PR for a week, he'd probably tell them to stop hiding emotion and start documenting authenticity instead. Because audiences today don't trust perfection anymore. They trust tension. They trust vulnerability. They trust moments that feel real. And suddenly, Felipe is stuck between protecting the crown and protecting his daughter from becoming consumed by it. That's a dangerous balancing act. Especially when every body language clip goes viral within minutes. And let's talk about Queen Letizia for a second because I think people massively underestimate her role in all this. The media keeps framing her as strict or controlling, but personally, I think Letizia understands modern media better than almost anyone inside European royalty. Remember, she came from journalism. She understands optics, narratives, framing, public sympathy. And I think she sees something Felipe is still emotionally struggling to accept. Leonor cannot be protected the old-fashioned way anymore. That era is over. You can't raise a future queen in silence while social media dissects every expression frame by frame. And honestly, that's probably terrifying for Felipe as a father. Because no matter how royal they are, this still feels like parents realizing the world their daughter is inheriting is harsher than the one they prepared her for. That's why this deadline matters psychologically more than politically. It represents a decision point. Do they continue controlling Leonor's image carefully? Or do they allow her to become more independent publicly? And trust me, those are not the same thing. One creates mystery, the other creates connection. And connection wins online every single time now. This is exactly why younger audiences suddenly care about royal stories again. Not because of crowns, not because of ceremonies. Because they recognize pressure, expectation, family tension, identity struggles. That's relatable. And I think the palace underestimated how emotionally invested people would become in Leonor specifically. She's no longer viewed as just the future queen. She's becoming a symbol of generational transition itself. That's bigger, much bigger. And honestly, this reminds me a little of what happened when younger audiences started shifting attention toward figures who felt more human than institutional. It's the same reason Kate Middleton's quieter appearances often create more discussion than giant royal events. People analyze emotional energy now, not just headlines. That's the era we're in. And Felipe knows it. You can see it in his posture lately. The pressure looks heavier. And maybe I'm wrong, but I genuinely think he knows the next phase of Leonor's public role could either save the monarchy's image for another generation, or expose how fragile modern royal systems really are. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody says out loud. Modern monarchies survive on emotional relevance now. Not authority, not power, relevance. That's the game. And once relevance starts slipping, panic follows fast. That's why every appearance matters now. Every reaction, every delay, every silence. Even this 24-hour pressure cycle feels symbolic of a bigger issue. Can tradition move quickly enough to survive the internet age? I'm not sure it can. And honestly, I think Felipe knows that too. That's why this story feels different from normal royal gossip. This doesn't feel cosmetic. It feels structural, like the monarchy itself is entering a stress test. And here's something else I noticed that nobody's really discussing. The palace keeps trying to appear united publicly, but the messaging lately feels unusually cautious. Almost defensive. That usually happens when institutions are trying to buy time. Not confidence. Time. And time is dangerous when public curiosity accelerates faster than official communication. Because people fill silence with theories. Always. Now personally, I don't think the monarchy is collapsing tomorrow or anything dramatic like that. But I do think they're confronting a reality shift. The old royal blueprint is fading. And Leonor may become the first Spanish royal expected to function almost like a hybrid figure. Part monarch, part global media personality, part national symbol. That's a brutal amount of pressure for someone so young. And maybe that's why Felipe looked tense. Not because of politics. Because he understands what this transition could cost personally. There's a moment every institution reaches where protecting the image starts conflicting with protecting the people inside it. And I think Spain's royal family may have quietly reached that point. That's why these next 24 hours matter so much. Not because of one announcement. Not because of one appearance. But because the response will reveal what kind of monarchy Spain is trying to build for the future. Fear-based, or connection-based, controlled, or human. And honestly, I think audiences already made their choice. They want real. That's the shift happening globally right now. People can sense performance instantly. But authenticity, that spreads fast, and maybe that's the lesson Felipe is being forced to learn in real time. You cannot prepare a future queen for tomorrow using yesterday's rules. That world is gone, and whether the palace is ready or not, Leonor's generation already knows it. So now the real question becomes, can the monarchy evolve fast enough before the pressure surrounding it becomes impossible to contain? Because after this week, I don't think this story is slowing down anytime soon.